Hello and welcome to week 37 of my rebooted weight loss journey. In this video, we're going to talk about what I've been doing over the last week and what I'm planning on doing over the coming week in terms of the overall journey and where we are with everything. So I hope you enjoy. My name is Mark and I'm here to help you live a better, healthier life. My goal is to help as many people as I can get into shape and improve their quality of life. Now, if this is your first time here and you want to learn more about practical and effective ways to improve your health and your fitness, then please do hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you do not miss any videos going forward. And without further ado, let's jump right in. So let's talk accountability. This week has been a little bit of a mixed bag in terms of where we are. In terms of my exercise, it's been going okay. My food, again, has been going okay. My work this week has been really busy. My day job has been really busy this week. So it's involved some early mornings, some late nights. It's been challenging, to say the least. And you know, I've got a late night over the weekend as well. So it has been a challenge. It has been one of those weeks where it would be very easy to be demotivated with how you're getting on. But it is all for me about thinking of that long-term thing of how far you've come, how far you've yet to go. So this week, it's been okay. It's not been the greatest. My walks have been around the 3-4 kilometre mark rather than the 6 kilometre mark that I was aiming for. I've been working slightly later at night, so I've been getting up a little bit later and then having to squeeze that walk in before work. You know, it is one of those things that these weeks happen. They don't happen very often, thankfully for me, but they do happen. And it's just about doing as much as you can, as sensibly as you can in that week, and trying to stick with healthier options than ordering a takeaway for your dinner. So this week I got pre-packed chicken, pre-cooked chicken things I could just warm up in the oven rather than having to cook, with some veg and things that I could throw together. They've been quite simple meals because they've been quick and on the run. And it is one of those things that I knew it was going to be a busy week. I didn't know it was going to be quite so busy, but busy week. It is one of those things where it was about trying to prepare for it and getting that sort of, you know, easier, quicker, but still healthy meals in is still better than my old habit of I'm busy, I'm hungry, let's order a pizza or whatever it is. So, I can't think of a better phrase than a bit of a meh week. It wasn't bad, it wasn't particularly good, it was all right. And it's just one of those things that I certainly haven't gone backwards. I haven't gone down the route of, you know, buying big family bags of Doritos and things and stuffing them through my face. That has been okay. I've avoided those by having those filling, healthy meals in the house. But it hasn't been the best week in the world. I purposefully this week chose not to get on the scales, and it is just one of those things that I would apologise for that, but I imagine I've either not lost or put on a little bit of weight this week. It is one of those things where it just wasn't the best. Wasn't the worst, but wasn't the best either. And I think that for me is just being one of those things where I do have some weeks like this in the year. I do have some weeks where it is just busy at work, busy outside of work. It is just a little bit carnage. And I'm very proud actually of saying that I haven't gone back to my old ways. I haven't ordered 5 takeaways this week. I haven't, you know, had bags and bags of you know, actual, you know, crud that we've gone through. I have had little treats this week, so I've had some, you know, popcorn, you know, salted popcorn, you know, through the week. I've had a couple of handfuls of nuts and things, and that has stopped me from having that urge to go and stuff my face with biscuits, cakes, you know, and all the rest of it. So Some takeaways for me this week, not takeaways, I haven't ordered takeaways, but some things to carry on with is that when I know a week like this is coming on, it worked to have that kind of easier pre-cooked food in the fridge that I could just warm up and throw in a pan with some stir-fry veg or whatever. That is a really good way forward, and that has actually done me quite well this week. Okay, so the week ahead. I had the last of my late night work sessions for a few weeks last night, so that is all good. We've got the shopping, coming in again this week, and for me, the food bit, I'm still struggling with eating, as much protein as I'm meant to be eating, but I'm working on it. I need to throw in some omelettes and things in there this week to try and get it that final little push over the line. And it is one of those things that for me, that this week is just, it has to be about the exercise. Doing 2 to 4 kilometers a morning is fine for the dogs, but not so much for me. I need to get up and off my behind and actually get those walks back to the 6 to 8 kilometers every morning, because that's where it needs to be and that's where it needs to stay. So for me this week, it is going to be about forcing myself to get off my behind, get out first thing in the morning when it's a little bit cooler for me and the dogs, and then go for a nice long walk every morning. Although hopefully my missus will give me a day off at some point from the dog walk, and we'll see how far we get with that. I'll have to do some yoga or something else on that particular day. So this week, the food I'm fairly happy with. Just need to eat a little bit more protein, so I'm going to throw some eggs, maybe an omelette in there. Somebody came up, one of the people who watches this came up with, kind of lentils and things. So I'm probably going to do something with that and oats, because I just need to up that protein intake another little notch to get that final step. And exercise and more exercise this week. I need to ramp it up. I really do. And just kind of do that. Although the gym sessions are great and I'm loving that, I need to ramp up that exercise outside of the gym as well. And lastly, just a little bit of an update from you. For anybody who's really observant, you'll probably notice there's a different colour desk here now, and things have changed across the other side. Although I apologise for the cables you can see there. I need to get some longer cables for the monitors, because that's what you can see at the minute. But working on that, Amazon to the rescue. But there's been quite a few changes. I am slowly putting together a couple of videos on what we've changed, just from a kind of nerdy update. But I'm very happy with where we've got to so far, although still some more work to go. So I will keep you updated. I will put those videos together just to share as a nerds update. But as always, thank you so much for watching along, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.